Don't care what people say. All I wanna do is live for today and get ready to be surprised. Now it's time to let it all go. Feel the love is all there is to know, and get ready to be surprised. I don't care about the past. Old memories turn to dust. Baby, get ready to be surprised. Nothing's gonna stop me anymore. I'm driving on a road I've never seen before. Get ready to be surprised. To be surprised. Be surprised.
Hi, everybody. This is Richard Sachs. I'm your host on Lost Arts Radio. Thanks for coming with us here in this meeting today. That our show is with Richard Mack, Sheriff Richard Mack, who was on the 1st of March, and a lot of people wanted to get more information from him because we're coming to the point where it looks like the option of the sheriffs fulfilling their oath and their potential as the highest law enforcement officer in each county in the U.S. That looks like really one of our best options at this point in a developing pandemic crisis. That's how it's known. A lot of people wanted more information on that, and the situation now, since we talked last time, the virus is clearly made in a U.S. lab. Trump was not accurate when he said it originated in China. It was sold to China from the information we got from Dr. Boyle, and then let out for whatever reason, unintentionally or intentionally. There are a lot of conflicting stories about the degree of lethality. It's very contagious, and it's a stealth virus engineered to spread with no symptoms before you can tell that's happening. But regardless of whether it's as lethal as some people say or not that bad, Trump is absolute trusting the health agencies right now, CDC and the other health authorities, implementing some really draconian lockdown measures, which are probably on the way to getting more serious. He needs to know somehow, although it's almost impossible to get this outside-the-box information to him, we're still trying. He needs to know that the same basic deep organization that created the weapon also created the harmful or deadly drugs that are probably going to be mandated and attempted to be forced on the population, justified by the virus requiring us to set aside constitutional rights, and that could lead to some unpleasant situations, it seems to me. Those treatments could be mandated, and they could end up being more deadly than the virus, and we're not supposed to know that. Forcing any of this kind of stuff on you violates your constitutional rights, which, by the way, don't come from the Constitution. They come from God, and they belong to you regardless of whether the government, recognizes them or not. So allowing the real health information, it seems to me, the origin of the virus and also the effective countermeasures that are totally safe. I mean, there are things that could stop this virus right away, and those are being censored as well. So we got several issues interplaying here. And the question, I guess, is two things, and we'll get Sheriff Mack's input on this for our whole period that we've got here. What could the sheriffs do if they understand the issue with the constitutional rights being removed already in the terms of travel and later forced treatments that you may not be that excited about getting? And what can individual people do if they understand this information and what the situation really is? Welcome, Richard Mack, and nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too, Richard. I'm really perplexed by this whole thing. I don't have enough medical background to make some determinations medically about the coronavirus. And as a matter of fact, I was going to ask you, what's the difference between a pandemic and an epidemic?
A pandemic is an epidemic that's spreading everywhere, and it's just totally out of control. And
pandemic is more out of control than an epidemic?
It's just a bigger scale. I think that's the easiest way to say it. And remember that regular English is not how the rulers are operating most of the time. They make legal definitions that may completely contradict the standard definition in the dictionary. But without having access to that myself, the common sense logical definition of the pandemic is just something that could be worldwide. It's an epidemic on the biggest scale.
Okay. My thoughts keep going back and forth on this quite a bit. From the freedom aspect, I think that Trump at this point has taken a very measured approach. Mm-hmm. He is forcing none of the regulations or rules that he's trying to implement. He's asking the American people to cooperate. I actually admire that part very much. Because he's not initiating martial law. He seems to be very concerned, and legitimately so, honestly so, about the spread of this disease. He continues, as you alluded to blame China, and China blames us. And so I'm not going to get into that game. I don't know where it originated originally. I've seen very few theories about that, that we developed it and then China stole it, or that we sold it to China or gave it to China and then they, of course, mishandled it. What I do know, though, is that the doctor in China, well, I don't know it. I guess the reports are that the doctor in China who was the whistleblower mysteriously died soon after exposing some truth about this disease. I also got a report yesterday on CBS News at noon that 79,000 people have already survived the disease. And so the mortality rate is not what it appears to be, and the hype about the mortality rate doesn't seem to be nearly as serious as some other diseases in the world, like tuberculosis and others that have been, even the flu seems to have a higher mortality rate than does the coronavirus. So I'm not understanding how, I live in Arizona, as you well know, and there's not been a single death in Arizona and only 22 cases confirmed, yet we have shut down every single part of our society. We've shut down basketball, we've shut down baseball, we've shut down travel, we've shut down every business that you can imagine. I mean, hair salons and restaurants.
Do you know at what level the authority is doing that? It's not. I don't think it's the president.
Governor.
It's the governor. See, in California, interestingly enough, so far it's the counties. In the Bay Area, almost 7 million people are now not allowed to go out of their house except for a list of approved errands. Well, and that's each county.
And I just saw with San Francisco. I just saw on the news last night that the chief of police there said that you can go outside and walk your dog, but you cannot get within 6 feet of another person.
Wow.
So if you see somebody coming towards you on the sidewalk, you would have to walk in the street or go up into somebody's yard until the other person passes.
Wow.
And that they're literally enforcing that by law. He says they won't be too strict on that, but he says if people get carried away, then they will be.
Okay.
And I find that so alarming. And going back to asking the sheriffs, the sheriff in San Francisco is not going to do anything. The sheriff in Los Angeles is not going to do anything. These are places where sheriffs have historically not cared about their oath of office or the Constitution. But I just did an article. I haven't sent it out yet in our CSPOA newsletter. I'll get that to you probably today.
Okay.
But the article addresses this. What are we willing to destroy in order to conquer this disease? Are we really trying to say that it's okay to destroy our Constitution, to destroy individual liberty? I'd rather be sick with 10 of these diseases. Give me 10 of the worst diseases.
Yeah.
Because I agree with Patrick Henry. Give me liberty or give me death.
Exactly.
I don't want to live in a society where police are watching me walk my dog and to see if I come too close to somebody.
Yeah,
I don't want to live in a society where I'm always looking over my shoulder, that everything I do is either shut down, or the freedom that we enjoy in this country, the leisure we enjoy in this country, to be destroyed. And my choice to pursue happiness, or to my family was talking about going over to Tombstone today. And we go, oh, heck, how could we go to Tombstone? It's all shut down. And, we just got back from Disneyland. Wow, and, okay. I don't want to get into a topic about how liberal Disney is, okay? I'm sorry. I've compromised that. I admit it readily. But ever since I was a little boy, I have loved Disneyland.
Me too.
And I went there when I was 4.5 years old. Disney had been open like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And I got lost. And it's my favorite story. Every time I get in line at Dumbo, I tell people around me, do you want to hear a great story about Dumbo? Well, I was 4.5 years old and I got lost. Now, I'll tell you, Richard, I didn't know I was lost. I was having the time of my life. And I went and got in line for Dumbo, and I didn't really know where my parents were. I didn't really care because I was having such a great time, and I got on the ride. Right. And back then, you had to have tickets, so I don't know how I got on, but I did. And my FBI dad saw me on the ride, and that's how he found me. He found me on Dumbo.
Yeah,
and so
Dumbo was taking
line with my little granddaughter, and I take my little granddaughter on Dumbo, and I told her that story, and she's the exact same age that I was at the time.
Yeah,
and we really enjoyed it. We have so much fond memories of Disneyland, and then now we were kicked out of Disneyland Saturday, and I took a picture, and I'm going to show that picture on my newsletter, where the entire Disneyland park was chained off, gates are shut, and nobody in sight. There was nobody around. There was a few security guards making sure, I guess, nobody tried to scale the fence, although it'd be a very difficult fence to scale. And I thought, maybe this is just a reflection of what's going on in our country, that Disneyland, for the only third time in history, has been shut down. But it chose to. Nobody forced them to.
Right.
This is the part I'm really, really concerned about, is that they're going to start implementing curfews and martial law and telling me I can't go from point A to point B and that I must stay in my home. And then we're going to be in this kind of FDR New Deal mode where anything government does will be accepted because they saved us. Yeah. Our government saved us.
That's why they have to take over private businesses and all that, and food distribution and everything.
Yeah, and right now, they just announced in Phoenix that there's some grocery stores willing to stay open to accommodate the elderly. And it's at 8 o'clock at night, and I can't remember, it seemed like Costco was one, Fry's was one, Safeway was one, and Food City. And so if you show your identification, you can come in at 8 o'clock and shop without all the other families that are younger.
You mean extended hours, basically, right?
Well, not really, no, just because all of them are open at 8 o'clock.
Oh.
And so I think Walmart was one that they mentioned several. And I told my wife, I said, hey, maybe that'd be pretty cool to go shopping and avoid the crowds if there's anything left on the shelves at that time.
Right.
But I said, and they said, but giving identification will be required. So they're going to check my age when I go grocery shopping.
Right. It's the opposite of a liquor check, basically. You have to be really old.
Yeah, and yet, and that brings up another thing I put in my article. We have 33,000 people killed every year on our streets.
Right.
We don't confiscate cars. We don't stop people from driving. And even worse, over half of those deaths are caused by drunk driving. And so we have about 20 to 24,000 people every year killed by drunk drivers. We don't outlaw booze. We tried that once during Prohibition and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And yet, why aren't we doing that? How many people die every year because of the smoking cigarettes?
Right.
Do we outlaw cigarettes?
Not yet.
And so if Bloomberg had become president, and he's probably going to be on the cabinet if Biden gets in.
Yeah.
And Bloomberg is going to be in charge of the CDC or FDA, and maybe he's very, very adamant about this.
Yeah.
That people that smoke are the problem. That we don't even need a healthcare system provided by the government if people would stop being obese and stop smoking.
Well,
so
I mean, to be fair, it's also the evil people who drinks carbonated drinks, right?
Well, don't let my wife hear you say that. She's a Dr. Pepper freak.
Yeah.
But, and she agrees, and she knows it. And I'll tell you the same thing. Coca-Cola and other soft drinks are one of the greatest poisons our society has ever inflicted upon us. But we do it to ourselves. But the thing of it is, I will still never support Dr. Pepper or Coca-Cola being against the law. I think we need to use our own judgment and be smarter than this. And I really anticipate, and I've said this in my classes at school, because of the national identification, we could just give a card and go into the grocery store and just show the card, and then it's paid by the government or not paid at all.
Right.
Bernie Sanders, to me, and I say this tongue-in-cheek, but I still say it somewhat seriously because the sarcasm here tells a real true story. And that is, to me, Bernie Sanders is the biggest wimp there's ever been in politics. He's talking about free healthcare and free school and getting back to your student loans and free everything for people coming across the border illegally.
Right.
Well, okay. Why isn't everything free then, Mr. Sanders? Why aren't groceries totally free for everyone?
Well,
why aren't cars free?
I
can't go to work without a car.
Yeah, but he'd say that's a great idea. And
I know.
Okay, let's do it.
And so why is he stopping with just 3 items? Isn't having food a civil right? Isn't that a human right?
Yeah.
Then why can't I have free food? You're saying the idiocy of saying that healthcare is a right. It's a product I can go down and buy, Mr. Sanders. It wasn't something I was born with. And it's something I can purchase or I can not purchase, or I can pay my own health care. How about that? I pay for every doctor visit I go to. How about I go to the doctor who only charges $50 for every doctor visit? How about I go to him?
Right.
How about we have a lot more doctors? How about we require doctors to only charge $50? Well,
Right.
If Mr. Socialist Dictator Bernie Sanders wants to really go somewhere with this, force everybody to be thin. And so, of course, give everybody the computer chip and make sure that we can't get too many Dairy Queens and we can't get too many hot fudge shakes.
Well, they'll just turn off your money chip if you make mistakes like that to teach you.
Or they just deny you entry.
Right.
You can't go to the Dairy Queen. You've got to show your chip. Nope, sorry, you're out. Or you go to the store and you try to buy ice cream or soda pop. Nope, sorry, you're out. And you can buy that whole wheat muffin, but you cannot. Oh no, that has too many calories. You can buy that oatmeal and some coconut milk.
Well, we also have to check your social media and see if you're allowed to buy food at all.
Exactly. Yeah. So the whole thing that Bernie Sanders offers with all these millennials kissing the ground he walks on is a red herring, and it's everything that he's talking about has been promised by communist dictators in the past.
Yeah, it's utopia.
He's offering nothing new. It's very Fidel Castro. It's very Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, and every
we're
one
gonna
of those
make everybody-
countries, the countries that have done it have turned into paradise every time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
you'll be happy to know that it looks like Biden is going to save us from all that because he's going to be the nominee, I think.
Well, yeah, he is. But what was Biden saying last night? He said, "All you millennials and all you young people following Bernie Sanders, I hear you." You know,
Right, he does.
and I'm sorry that I actually watched some of that stuff, but it's such political theater and so entertaining, and I can't go to a movie now, so
Right.
I'm going to watch these politicians entertain me.
It's a good ticket price.
Yeah. And so, again, we don't outlaw cars, yet 33,000 people die every year. And so far in our country, we've barely had 100 people die of this disease. Most people are recovering, according to their own reports. 79,000 people, according to their own reports, have survived this and come out fine. So what is this really about, that we have to shut down our society, shut down our Constitution, and shut down everything we believe in, and every institution that we hold dear is now shut down. In fact, the institution of marriage, you can't even have a marriage right now. You can't even hold a funeral right now, and because you can only have 10 people in a gathering.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And before we get into, I'm watching the time carefully because we have short time, but before we get into this next point about the virus, you talked a lot about everything being free and how that was so not good and people don't understand. In case we have people watching that don't understand that, which there are millions of them actually, what can you say at that level as a teacher, because you teach kids all the time, why isn't it wonderful to have everything free as a human right?
Well, it takes away human dignity, and it takes away initiative, and it takes away what I was born with, and that is the responsibility to take care of myself. And not only that, the opportunity to take care of myself. I want to take care of me. Everyone should want that. That anybody believes that government should take care of you, what a fallacy. It's a historic fallacy. You can only look throughout history where people have made these empty promises to us before, that we will take care of you, that we will feed you, we will clothe you, we will educate you, and we will own you, and we will control you. That's the part that's the real problem.
And they'll decide what free health care and what food you should have and what medical treatments and all that kind of stuff. Because it's free, so they get to decide everything.
Well, exactly. And self-governing and taking care of oneself is something that we were born to do. And that we can rise and fly and go as far as we want. That's what life is about. The pursuit of happiness is not up to government, it's up to me. And whatever I've accomplished, I can look back and say, man, I really worked hard. My mother taught me to work hard. My mother taught me to try. I want my children to do the same. I want my students to do the same. Try, do your best, and look back and see something that you accomplished, not that somebody just sat there and gave you a free ride.
So what about what's the other side of it? Some people are saying, well, government's the root of all evil, so just abolish all government. Why? What is government's legitimate function?
Well, even the founding fathers said that government was but a necessary evil.
Yeah.
That someone else is controlling you and forcing you to do something. Yeah, it is. And it is an evil process. I am supposed to control myself. I can take care of myself. But government definitely needs to intervene when you've taken your choices to the extent of hurting another individual. And right. So then government is to intervene. But not until then. Government is to leave us alone. Imagine that government would leave us alone to run our own lives. And that's what God made us to do. And the greatest gift we've been given, besides life itself, is the power to control that life.
In the case of foreign invasion from outside the country,
Right.
that might be a legitimate function as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, what about from inside if there are corporations that form a cartel selling a product that they make everybody want, but it's designed to harm them? What happens in that case? Because that's happening now all over the place.
Well, we think that we have the right to control people's consumption of marijuana or other dangerous drugs.
I'm talking about production rather than consumption.
Okay. You might have to give me a for instance.
Okay. For example, you might not be totally familiar with this, and Trump obviously has no clue about this subject, but he just made it much easier without any regulation for companies to produce genetically modified organisms, which are deadly for the whole biosphere. And he's seeing it as free enterprise. What's the function of a wise government in that case?
Well, the GMO that has taken over most of our farm production. In fact, all but maybe 2 or 3% of corn is genetically modified.
Yeah.
And the first question you'd have to ask is why? Why is it? Didn't corn work in our country for 150, 250, 300, 400 years?
For monopoly purposes, they can control all the seed.
Well, yeah, and they also control that there's no nutritional value.
Right, exactly, which fits right in, because if you're sick, you're way easier to control.
Yeah, and Einstein was the one that said the best medicine is proper nutrition.
Yeah, that was very smart.
Food is the best medicine, is
Right.
what Einstein said.
Actual food, not fake food.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Natural food. And so we've gone so far beyond any of this. And, your other question was, what can sheriffs do? Well,
Right.
First, sheriffs have got to be educated about this stuff.
Right.
And it really is very fundamental with us. And regrettably, just a month ago, we were on our way to train many more sheriffs across the country about all of this. But primarily, we start with the Constitution and individual liberty, and that their ultimate responsibility, the ultimate duty of every peace officer in this country, be it sheriff, a patrol officer, or a chief of police, or anyone else that's working in keeping the peace in this country.
Yeah.
Their ultimate responsibility is to safeguard liberty,
Right.
to promote our Constitution, and to protect the individual rights of every citizen in this country. If I'm being forced to take a certain medication or to purchase a certain product, as we've already been brainwashed to do in this country, for instance, every one of us is forced to have auto insurance.
Right.
And I am absolutely 100% against that. Well, the first thing somebody's going to say who doesn't like me or thinks I'm crazy is going to say, Sheriff Mack thinks that it's okay to not have insurance. And I said, no, I think it's a great idea. If you choose to purchase it, go ahead. But
Right.
It's your choice, not government's. The other one is wearing a seatbelt. I don't believe in forcing people to wear. Oh, Sheriff Mack thinks we should have people dying more often in traffic accidents.
Right.
No, I don't. That's not what I said. If we lived in a free country, though, sir, we would make that choice for ourselves.
Yeah.
And government, Thomas Jefferson has said this over and over. He says, in a Republican nation where people are to be persuaded and reasoned with, but never forced. Mm-hmm. So that's the same thing with the seatbelt laws. It's the same thing with car insurance. And you know what? I can purchase an insurance policy that says it covers me if the other person isn't insured. I can do that if I want to. But literally forcing us to do that or wearing a seatbelt is wrong. And it's the opposite of what government was intended to do.
So if sheriffs take the time to get educated about freedom and how it's supposed to work.
Well, the thing of it is, that's what we were doing, and now this coronavirus starts, and it looks like all of our training seminars have been shut down. I still haven't heard from the sheriffs in Virginia who we're supposed to be meeting with May 20th.
Right.
That has not been canceled, but I already have 3 others that have been canceled.
Okay.
One here right in Tucson. And so I'm really afraid that that's going to happen, but I intend to be there at this point. And boy, it's just so coincidental that has happened, and just shutting down all of this. And I believe that most of the sheriffs are going to succumb to the pressure and the hype and the hysteria of this and say, oh, yeah, we just got to do whatever we have to do to make sure that everybody gets better and nobody gets sick, and that we... No, this is still a time. There is no exemption clause. There's no war or any emergency that shuts down my God-given rights. We just...
If people got that one concept, that would change everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. Because, I've had people call me and say, well, what happens if they want to start forcing vaccinations upon us to prevent the coronavirus, COVID-19? And I said, well, you know what? You should go right to your sheriff and tell him that you have a belief that's wrong, that it's against your religious beliefs, it's against your spiritual beliefs, it's whatever it's against, and tell him, I choose not to have this. And then have him protect you from it. Sheriffs need to understand, no matter where the threat is of government forcing me into a cocoon of what they believe my behavior should be, that sheriffs should be opposing all of that. And I really don't care where it comes from. It can be DUI checkpoints. If I don't want to participate in that, the sheriff should protect me.
What about like in California right now, where the enforcement is coming from the county and the sheriff is in the county? I mean, what are the sheriff's abilities?
He should be opposing the board of supervisors, and he should be opposing the county commissioners and telling them, look, there's just so far we can take government. There's just so far we can take this hysteria about this. And I'm not going to allow people to be forced into, what are we going to do? Tie them up, throw them down, and then force a needle into their body? For heaven's sakes. That's not government's role. And I certainly hope that we're not destroying individual liberty and the God-given liberties that we were blessed with as Americans. That this is America. We don't do that.
Right.
And like I said, I'll finish all that with, give me liberty or give me death.
Why is it not reasonable for the county, state, and federal authorities to say, look, we need to be safe right now. It's not reasonable for people to have firearms?
I would quote to them Benjamin Franklin, that he would surrender liberty for supposed safety and well-being and health. Will end up with neither.
Right.
And of course, I paraphrase. That's actually a quote in my article. Franklin's warning is very timely, and it certainly applies to us today. The entire Constitution applies to every emergency that we have. There's no emergency exemption clause to my God-given rights.
Right, exactly.
And the people who have promised me in their position, and the reason that I voted for them, they swore an oath of allegiance to the Constitution.
Yeah.
And I would expect that they would keep that oath or resign and get out of the way.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, in the couple minutes that we have left, what would you ideally like to see from sheriffs and then from individual citizens?
Well, certainly I want everybody working together, and citizens have got to right now, and I've said this all along, Richard, as you well know, you must have a relationship with your sheriff. And he needs to know who you are and know your concerns. Go down and visit him. Take him some cookies and go visit with him and let him know how you feel, and ask him if he will defend you and keep his oath of office. Ask him if he is a constitutional sheriff, and then do your best to get him trained. Make sure you get some of our materials off of cspoa.org. Maybe I said that too fast. CSPOA, CISPOA, CSPOA, Constitutional Sheriffs Peace Officers Association, CSPOA.org. Take him a booklet of the Supreme Court case that I have. Take him the book, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope, or even probably the best book there, Are You a David? Take him that book, Are You a David?
And this applies if you live in a city, in the city limits. You're not excluded from this, right? Your sheriffs can still do something for you.
Yeah, the people within the city limits vote for the sheriff just like everybody else does.
Yeah. Okay.
And he has concurrent jurisdiction within the city. The gentleman's agreement is that they patrol, the sheriff will patrol the non-incorporated areas of the county, and the police department will do the patrolling inside. But he still has complete jurisdiction throughout the county.
Okay, that's really important. And the other thing is you guys need funding, I think, to operate, and you don't have it right now. So
boy, do we.
Who gets to join CSPOA, and does that help at all with funding?
Yeah, everybody does. And it's $50 for 1 year membership. If people could just get on the website and make a monthly donation, $5, $10, just keep it to where we can keep in business.
Okay.
We really need that. So just go to CSPOA.org, make a monthly donation to where we know that we can operate the following month or two.
Okay. And then if a sheriff realizes that he or she doesn't know about a lot of this stuff and you don't have any planned visits to their area, what do they do?
Give me a call or email me. And all of that's available on the website also.
CSPOA.org. Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds great, Richard. I hope you'll be back soon. And as this continues to develop, we should talk more about it.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you. Hold on and we'll say goodbye in the break here. Okay, so short show, but I think it was packed with a lot of really important information. That's Sheriff Richard Mack, somebody that I really admire. He's done things that took so much courage in his capacity as sheriff when he was acting as an Arizona sheriff. And you can hear a little bit about more detail of what he did in our last broadcast, which aired on March 1st. Anyway, really inspiring character, and hopefully somebody that will encourage all the sheriffs to live up to their oath of office. And, when I didn't know too much about that situation, I just assumed from meeting Richard Mack that all the sheriffs would be doing what he's talking about because he's made his material available to them all. More recently, I found out that the sheriffs they don't have a protective energy shield against brainwashing and indoctrination, just like anybody else. All of us have been subject to that. So they need education. And some of them are really open to it. They just don't know what their powers are. And the government at higher levels doesn't want them to know what their powers are. It would be really irritating when you're trying to enslave the whole country to have the sheriffs know what they could do. But from our point of view, really from everybody's point of view who would be affected by all this, it's critical that the sheriffs learn what their role really is and learn how to implement it in their everyday job, because that's their function. They're supposed to protect their citizens. They're not just supposed to enforce unconstitutional laws or policies or dictates of agencies or anything like that. So the sheriffs really need education, and CSPOA is the best organization that I know of, really the only one that is equipped to teach them what their actual role is. And when there's especially in an emergency situation like we have right now, it's urgent that the sheriffs learn what their job is. And they're basically national leaders in every county, and they're the primary line of defense for the individual citizens' rights and freedoms. And they need to learn that really soon, right now, and act on it. So anybody that wants to join CSPOA, go to CSPOA.org. That will help Richard Mack's work. If you can't afford the $50 a year membership cost, then as he just said, donate, $5 a month or something like that. And that will help them, especially if you share that link and the information that he just gave with as many people as you possibly can. Because as you know, that Lost Arts Radio is being shadow banned and has been for some time. We kind of became aware of that when our counters started going backwards on view counters, because that's not normally happening in the physical universe, except with shadow banning, of course. And it's amazing that you can still even see us on major platforms. Hopefully that'll still be the case for quite a while to come. But in the meantime, I would recommend that you go and subscribe to our channel on Brighteon.com, BRIGHTEON.com/channel/Lost Arts Radio. Do that before you forget. That's a new site that doesn't censor videos, and really valuable resource. And it's probably 0.1% as big as the large channels that everybody knows about, the platforms that everybody knows about. But it could grow if you make a habit of using it and post things on Brighteon.com, watch Brighteon.com. That will help them, because the more traffic they get, then some of the advertising starts paying them, and they'll be able to expand and survive better. So they really deserve support, it seems to me. And also, if you want to get on our mailing list so you don't lose touch with us in the event that we disappear from other channels, go to lostartsradio.com. And when you're reading articles and things there, just go and look for the sign-up sheet on the email list, which we're not really needing to use yet, but it's good to have, and then we can send you videos and other things if we can't be seen otherwise. And that's at lostartsradio.com, or send an email with your name and email address to info@lostartsradio.com, and we can put you on the list that way. What else? We've got our Saturday show, which is Lost Arts Radio Live, every Saturday at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern Time. That's usually a show that is me or me with a guest, and we talk about current events-related subjects that are educational and important, and you can see that all over now on many platforms. And again, stay in touch at lostartsradio.com, and the shows will also be posted on Brighteon.com as soon as they're over. We also have the private meeting where we can talk without fear of censorship, or share information about ancient knowledge for health protocols that actually work, not medical advice or diagnosis or treatment or any of that stuff. You go to your own doctor for that, but old knowledge that's been updated to apply in situations like we are now. It's still legal to share that, and it won't get censored off as quickly if you meet us in the weekly meeting of Planetary Healing Club, and it's interactive. You can ask any kind of question or respond to things that we talk about, whatever you want. It's very valuable platform, support forum for everybody. That's accessed at planetaryhealingclub.com, planetaryhealingclub.com. And if you have a question about that, you're not sure it's worth your time or how much you could use it for, then you're welcome to email us at the contact forms on either of our main sites, lostartsradio.com or lostartsresearchinstitute.org. That's our nonprofit. And or you can write to me directly, richard@lostartsradio.com, and get the questions answered, and I'll read all of them and get to as many as I can, as quickly as possible. And I think that's about it. We really need your support, either as a club membership, because the small dues on that help us keep operating, planetaryhealingclub.com, or if you have resources, a donate button on lostartsradio.com or lostartsresearchinstitute.org. And the main point of this is to give you the tools to take care of yourself better so you're more used to everybody. Because if you let yourself fall apart, there's not too much you can do to contribute to the situations that come up here in the middle of life. So I'd urge you, whatever causes you're working in, or whatever work you're doing, or whatever your family obligations and relationships and things, really take care of yourself. Learn the real health information that's all being banned right now. Learn about what you can do with that, what silver can do, and the nutrition and vitamin C and D3 and iodine and all these things that are critically important that are being called wrong information now by the authorities. And you need to be in charge of your own education. Learn everything that you can and then use it. Keep yourself in good shape and look for ways you can help, because we're going to need it. And I'm really grateful you're there and that you care about all this. Let people know about Sheriff Mack and Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. Share that everywhere, because it may get blocked. I think that's about it. We'll keep working together on this and make things better any way we can. So take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.
Introducing Lost Arts Radio on Subscribestar.com. Just go to Subscribestar.com/LostArtsRadio to find our rewards program, offering 10 different giving levels starting at just $5 a month. We offer incredible value for any rewards level, from extra monthly interview videos not available publicly to subscription-based Planetary Healing Club videos once, twice, or 3 times a month, to private counseling sessions with Lost Arts Radio host Richard Sachs, to tech help with me, Doug Diamond. We even have one option where you can be the star on Lost Arts Radio as our guest on a specially produced show just for you. We conduct an interview with you and broadcast it to our growing network and listenership. Our Subscribe Star levels are one of a kind and offer great rewards for any budget. Please help support Lost Arts Radio. We can't do it without you. With increasing censorship on many of our channels, we really need your support today to keep doing what we're doing. As Richard says, we're not even at survival level yet. Lost Arts Radio has 3 weekly shows. Lost Arts Radio Live each Saturday night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, which is a live stream currently on multiple platforms in case we get banned from some of the larger ones. Right now, we're on 2 YouTube channels, Facebook Live, Periscope, which is Twitter, Twitch, and DLive. You can access these broadcasts by going to www.lostartsradio.com/live for all the links to those channels. The Planetary Healing Club meets right after Lost Arts Radio Live at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Saturday nights. And our Sunday show with guests airs at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Sunday nights on our Blog Talk Radio channel, our YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and on Brighteon. Be sure to sign up for our free email list just in case we do get banned on big tech's platforms. It's just a matter of time, really. They don't like the stuff we talk about, and they do not want the truth out there. In fact, they have already attacked us numerous times. Join our free email list so we can let you know where we are and how to access our shows. The sign up button is right on the top right on most pages of our website. The best starting point for all things Lost Arts Radio is our main site, lostartsradio.com, where you can find the hottest news selection videos that we curate just for you. Those are on the homepage and added to daily, as well as articles and breaking news about information you really need to know. Our show archives, the 10 most recent shows, are right on our homepage, as well as our Blog Talk Radio page at blogtalkradio.com/lostartsradio, or just click the All Things Radio Show tab right on our website. We're in the podcast directory on iTunes, and all of our shows except the banned ones are on our YouTube channels at Lost Arts Radio and at Diamond Disc. Our Brighteon page is really taking off, and we often have editors' picks videos right on their homepage. Visit brighteon.com/channel/LostArtsRadio. On our site, you can also access our free listener forum as well as sign up for the Planetary Healing Club, which is just $25 a month, where you get private access to a one-on-one interaction with host Richard Sachs and myself and the other club members who participate live. More info can be found at planetaryhealingclub.com. We're providing solutions in there to make the world a better place. Come join us. Stay tuned because up next, you'll get to hear a really great song by an independent artist that we're doing our best to support. Go to lostartsradio.com/music for the full list of all the great songs and bands that we spin on our audio-only podcast shows. If you're in a band and want to submit a song for consideration for airplay on Lost Arts Radio, visit my website at diamonddiscaudio.com for more information about the music placement, mastering, and mixing work that I do. Thanks again for listening to and supporting Lost Arts Radio. We love having you as part of our family to learn, experience, and grow with.
Don't care what people say. All I wanna do is walk my way and get ready to be surprised. Things don't look too good these days. Humankind's chasing its own tail. But get ready to be surprised. I don't care about the past. Old memories turn to dust. Baby, get ready to be surprised. Don't care what people say. All I wanna do is live for today and get ready to be surprised. Now it's time to let it all go. Feel the love is all there is to know and get ready to be surprised. I don't care about the past. Old memories turn to dust. Baby, get ready to be surprised. Nothing's gonna stop me anymore. I'm driving on a road I've never seen before. Get ready to be surprised. To be surprised. Be surprised. Well, my friend, what will you do? You can join this tune. It's all about you and get ready to be surprised.